Good day, class. My name is Dareus Morris, and this is my final project for Fundamentals of Game Design with Michael Weeks, and my game is called Quick Draw. So let's go and get started, but before we do, let's discuss the unfortunate difficulties I went through during this project. My original laptop got damaged by liquid. My second laptop had to be replaced, which is my work laptop, so I had to get replaced with another work laptop. And so I lost all those files, which resulted me in changing up the game a lot. And plus, whenever I was making the game, the updates did not show up immediately through VS Code to the web server or to the local server. So I was having a hard time with the coding and trying to test everything out. Other than that, let's go and get started. So for my inspiration, I was inspired by Trigun and Cowboy Bebop, which are both Wild West-esque animes, although futuristic. And both contain gunfights and draws. And basically, I wanted to make a game where the player stands in the middle and the enemies come to attack him, move towards him, and he's going to shoot those enemies. And it would be one shot, one kill, but although that made it a little too easy. So I decided to make some of the enemies take more than just one shot. So for my classes, I have 3 classes: a player, enemy, and projectile class, a player constructor with X, Y, radius, and color, an enemy projectile constructor with all those things plus velocity because they'll be moving away and towards the player respectively, and all contain draw and update functions. So for my arrays, I have a projectile array and enemy array. This is so that I can, for every instance that they occur, it's just easier to manage and handle. So whenever the projectile is shot, it'll appear in the projectile array. Whenever an enemy appears on the screen, it'll appear in the enemy array. And I'll get into splicing those arrays a little bit later down the PowerPoint. So my event handler takes in a click. As you can see, I have a math A10 here with the event.client Y and event.client X, which is basically where my mouse is just clicking on the screen. And I subtracted the Y by the height and divide by 2, and the width of the canvas divided by 2, which were both where my player is, which is the dead center. And so here's the velocity. I got the math cosine for X for the angle right here, which is produces the angle. And then I did sine for Y, which produces this angle. And I multiplied them by 5 to make the projectiles move a bit faster. And as you can see here, I did projectiles push, which pushes it to the array. So the start game button contains an event listener. It runs the animate function, clear function, and spawn enemies function, and also removes the modal style display, which shows the start game button. And it just displays that to none so that you can go and get the game started once the button is clicked. So my functions, I have a spawn enemies function, an animate function, and a clear function. For the spawn enemies function, it does what it says. It spawns the enemies. It uses math.rand to change up the X and Y positions so it appears randomly all throughout the screen, so it's not just coming from one place, and also pushes towards the enemy array. The animate function basically is where the gameplay takes place, where the gameplay rules are, and I requested an animation frame, and I called it on itself. And basically, an animation frame just lets the code know that, hey, I want to run an animation, I want to redraw myself, although you do need draw and update functions to go along with this. And clear, which occurs when the player loses, establishes a new player character, it clears all arrays, and it clears the score. So for detecting collisions, as you can see here for the projectiles, you can see it here, so the score plus equals 100 whenever it hits. And then here, you can see that if the enemy radius is larger than 5, then only the projectile gets spliced out of its array because it's too large, because the enemy is too large. But if the enemy is smaller than that, then both get spliced out of their arrays because the enemy is dead. And then here, you can see that if the enemy gets to the player and hits them, it cancels the animation frame, which completely freezes the game. And the model.display appears again with the start button, and it also shows your score. And so here are my citations. And I was going to get into the game. So as you can see here, I was already playing, got my points here. So, you just shoot. And as you can see here, some of them take a couple more hits than others. And they're coming from all over the place. You just got to keep shooting because you don't want to get touched. And once you die, displays your score. And you can always start the game over again. So here, you see me shooting, having a good time. And you can see my score up here increasing as I hit them. Once I die, I die. Thank you guys.